The Lime-Flavored Network, the tastiest netcasts online. Echoes Darkly is brought to you by Trisha's Bakery at trishasbakery.com.
Echoes Darkly.
This is Echoes Darkly, episode 16, being recorded earlier than it's going to be viewed. But it's for the 16th of March, 2013, and I am DJ Allen, joined finally by Bob.
Hi, I am Bob.
And what we're going to talk about this time is, and I'm working too, by the way, is basically we're gonna get to know Bob.
Okay, sounds good.
Bob, who are you?
I am Bob. So this is Bob echoing out. Wait, we do that at the end.
Yeah, that's at the end.
I'm Bob Miotto.
From the Bobcast.
From the Bobcast, yes. I live in northern Indiana. Me and DJ were in the military together. Like a long
Go Navy!
long time.
Wait, that's kind of like, no, that's bad. So, the way that I originally met Bob was we were looking for another player for, I think it was Vampire, and Bob, why don't you go ahead and tell me on camera here how I approached you so that everybody can giggle at me.
Yeah, we'll do that. Actually, I'll take a step back just a little bit from that. When I was in Homeport, I was in the battalion that DJ's was in for, maybe 2 or 3 weeks in Homeport before we deployed. And the weird thing is that, I always wore black. I would wear a trench coat because I liked it. It looked good. And my roommate, I guess, was telling people that I was a vampire because I would go out at night wearing all black and a trench coat, and for some reason he took that as vampire. So I got in the military. I got into the battalion, and it didn't take but a week over there before I'm over taking out some tools or something, and this big, that Tony Banks? I think that was his name. Big black guy.
Yes.
He says, Miotto, huh? Because we all have our names on our shirts, and I was like, oh, shit. Anytime somebody pronounced my name right the first time they see me, I know, oh, great, what has this guy heard? He goes, you the motherfucker who thinks you're a vampire? So I was like, no, where did you hear that? And that's when I hear that my roommate in Homeport was telling everybody that I was a vampire. Which, that's kind of cool, I guess. So here it was duty day, which is just a really fun thing to say, and I suggest everybody at home try saying that.
Duty day.
Duty day. Isn't that cool? So there I am standing there, and they're telling us what we have to do for the day, and I look over and I see DJ off to the side staring at me. Now, with all the people that were there, I knew he was looking right at me. I don't know how I knew, but for some reason. So we finally, they dismissed us, and my room's that way, and DJ was right over there. So I go right towards my room as quick as I could because he was honestly freaking me out. So he catches up to me and he's like, "Hey, you the guy who thinks you're a werewolf?"
I did ask that.
I'm like, where are you people getting this shit from? Well, he's like, oh, well, do you want to play werewolf? I'm like, oh, okay. So he's like, all right, well, here's my building. Meet me over there at this time, and that's how it started. Because somehow he heard that I was a vampire that turned into werewolf, and werewolf to, hey, this guy would want to play that game. Well, sure enough, I did want to play it, so it all worked out for the best. We had lots of fun too.
And to this day, you are still the only person I've seen play a Malkavian vampire correctly.
Malkavians, yes. Didn't they take them out of the newest edition?
They're a bloodline now. They're not a clan.
Oh.
And in Masquerade, bloodlines are kind of very nice. In Masquerade, bloodlines are kind of the red-headed stepchild of vampires. But in Requiem, which are the new ones, are you a stepchild?
No, I'm not a stepchild.
Okay, but you
I've
are.
always been kind of the black sheep, the
Gotcha.
guy off the side that nobody really.
But anyway, in Requiem, bloodlines, at least the way I interpret it, bloodlines are more prevalent than clans because I don't know, they seem like they would be. So,
Yeah.
what I have determined is that Malkavians are better in Requiem because they're a bloodline. The whole clan structure seemed very limited to me, and I don't know what you think about it, but they've now reduced the 13 down to 5 clans, but there's thousands of bloodlines.
Okay. Well, how's that work then? What are the bloodlines compared to the clan? What's the difference?
You get like extra powers and stuff, but I mean it's they kind of operate the same as bloodlines in Masquerade, but they're more prevalent. That's where you get your customization, and everybody that I've heard complain about the lack of clans complains that, well, you know, they took away all the clans, so I don't have as much customization options. Are you fucking shitting me?
They always replace what they take away, though, with something else.
Right. And they fixed combat in Requiem over Masquerade, and I haven't read a whole lot of the werewolf, even though I was supposed to for one of my past episodes. I mean, I've dipped into it a little bit, but that seems to be more expanded too, to me. So, I mean, they've basically all the new stuff is, here's what we messed up, and here's how we fixed it.
For anybody who doesn't know, the Malkavians are the crazy fuckers. I mean, they have seriously, their minds are broken. They are out of their brains.
And
So
what I mean...
I did enjoy playing them. And I told people that, yeah, when I was in the military, Malkavians are the only clan they would let me play.
Well, the reason I say you play them correctly is most people do the whole, ooh, look, I've got bendy straws for fingers, blah, blah, blah. I'm playing with stuffed animals, ha, ha, ha. And they're just goofy all the time. Now, you did the goofy part, but you also did what Malkavians would do, and that's snap. And you would become the vicious, you would become the Joker. You were funny in certain times, but you were absolutely lethal at others. But nobody does the lethal part. Yeah. So Malkavians are not only the Joker, and they're not only Harley Quinn, for lack of a better goofy character like, but they're also Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. No, I did. I loved playing them. I mean, I remember at one point there was something that there was a power that I had that allowed me to make something invisible. It had to be. You couldn't just make anything invisible. I mean, it had to be something very, very important to you. Your coffin or something. I mean, it had to be something very, very important. So I remember I said, "Well, I'm going to make my shotgun invisible," and the game master said, "Well, you can't." I said, "Well, why not?" He said, "It has to be important to you." I said, "Important?" I said, "What is more important than my shotgun? I mean, that is how I survive. And then I went into great argumental detail about how this is the most important thing in my life. And he said, just because of the way that I described it, he says, "You know what? You're right. Your shotgun's invisible." So here we are sneaking down this alleyway, and I kick a glass bottle. He said, he has us roll for like a stealthy type check. and I kicked the glass bottle because I totally botched a roll on that. At which point I was like, ooh, I like the way that the glass sounded. So I set my shotgun down, and I went over and I picked up the bottle, and this shotgun that was so important that I was able to fudge the rules for got left in the alleyway because all of a sudden it meant nothing to me. And that, I think, is something that is what a crazy person would do.
It is.
I mean, this is the most important thing, and oh, look, a duck.
I remember we were, as a group, we were sitting talking to some important vampire, and the whole time, they would be talking, and every once in a while you'd just interject, and I put down the crazy straw, and I pick up the glass, and I smash it in half, and I just stare at the guy, and the game master, or the storyteller was like, okay, and he would keep going, and then you'd do something else just to keep throwing you off, and everybody else wanted to play Malkavians, but if you remember, Chris, the storyteller, wouldn't let you choose your clan. He would assign you a clan.
Yes.
As you best fit. Now, I in hindsight, that's probably the way to go, because I'm not going to get to choose what I am if somebody embraces me. I'm just going to end up being whatever they are.
Right. We've tried that same concept, though, with the other games that we play, as far as things like race and sex, your ability scores. None of these things are things that you choose. Now, granted, you can choose to work out and get stronger, but for the most part, these are genetic things about you, and I like the idea of you didn't choose to be a white male, you didn't choose you. Due to problems with sex, though, we usually find it best to stick with the sex that we are, just for story issues, because that always goes wrong when somebody pick something different.
My best vampire character was a woman. Now, and she has reappeared in several of my games since then, and she's a reoccurring character in a lot of stuff I do because I've developed her so much that I know how she'll react in every situation, and I know how she interacts with others, and she was extremely interesting to me. So, other characters that I developed afterwards, while decent, I didn't have the connection I did with that female character, and that kind of weirded Chris and Jason out, Ivy and Monty both. But I mean, they rolled with it after a while, and pretty soon they just understood that it was just how it went. And Chris eventually interjected a female NPC into the group too, so he was also playing a woman.
Right. Oh yeah, I do remember that. And, but those aren't things that you can pick about your life. So we've tried rolling them. In fact, this one that we just got, we just started rolling up characters for a Dungeons and Dragons game because anyone who knows me knows that I do like the medieval-y stuff. And fortunately, Dungeons and Dragons is something that allows me to play the role of a medieval character without actually traveling in time, because I don't know how to do that.
We're gonna save that expansion for the other show we'll do.
Gotcha. I do play the Dungeons and Dragons game though. I do like the medieval-y stuff, and that's one of the things we just did is we rolled our stats, and each stat that you roll went in order, and then you basically picked a class based on what your stats were. Because, I mean, if you roll an 8 for your strength, you're not going to be picking up this great axe and charging into battle, dragging it behind you. You're going to pick something that's compatible with what you are. And that was kind of the idea here.
Now, the way Chris did it, and I'm not sure his exact methodology, but we would create our characters, he'd stare at it, figure out personality traits, and then he would assign us our clan. Now, I ended up being, let's see, I started out as a Ventru. That's my favorite, the female. She was a Ventru.
That's the magic users?
They're the regal leader types. I think that he realized he made a mistake after I had played her for so long, because we deviated from Ventru quite extensively, so I was basically an anti-tribu. He also at one point made me a Nosferatu, which he also discovered didn't really fit. And
I remember.
the secondary favorite character I had was a Bruja, and I played that. That's how I played it. Yeah, he
That
was.
was the animalistic ones.
No, they were the bikers, fighter gang types.
Okay.
I
was thinking, which one is it that like changes every time they frenzy? They get like a little more animalistic.
That's Gangrel.
Gangrel, right? Like
I
said, it's been a long time since I played.
I don't think he ever gave me Gangrel as an option. Ivy was a Tremere, and I thought that fit fairly well because he was kind of mysterious. Monty ended up being a Bruja most of the time. Oh no, he was his character was a Gangrel. Monty's character, because he was like a 12-year-old boy, but he was a bad motherfucker.
Nice.
Yeah. Then the last story I can remember us actively playing in Vampire that Chris ran, I worked very hard at putting down a specific set of traits on this one specific character because I wanted to play something outside the Camarilla 7. Because he was so... He never really let us stray from that very often. So I worked very hard.
He had a strict storyline that he wanted us to go with.
Kinda. Well, in this specific character, I made sure he was Tibetan. I made sure he was a monk. I made sure that he knew martial arts. I made sure that he was very calculating, and that's how I played him. And out of the blue, I became an Assamite. So I was like, ooh! Now,
nice.
as the Assamite, as we played...
Yeah, a game that we play outside of the actual game that we're playing, and this just goes for any game that we're playing. You have, let's say, Dungeons & Dragons or Vampire or whatever game that you're playing, you also have Stump the DM, which is played by everybody but the DM.
Now, I
or GM.
I am actively trying to make anybody I run games for now realize that. Well, first off, Chris always ran it as an opposition thing. It was always us versus him, always. And I have
got a guy run that's just the same way.
And I have run like that in the past because I kind of carried Chris's traits over when I started playing back up here in North Dakota. But what I am actively trying to let everybody know, because I want to engage in stories rather than constant combat-a-thons, is I am working with you, not against you. So this should also help enhance the situation. So let's say you get caught in a firefight.
Right.
And you botch a roll, but not so bad that it would be catastrophic. Knowing that I am against you, you would continue to fight and try to kill that character by any means necessary. But as a companion to you or helping you along, you might be actively willing to choose. Maybe he winged me and I go down, so now I've got not only a scar or an injury, but I'm in a really bad spot because I know the game master or storyteller or whatever is not going to walk up to me and blow my brains out because that's not the situation.
Right. However, the way that I always liked it is we're here to have fun, we're going to tell a story, we're going to have fun, but if you do something stupid, you may die. If you just decide... Oh, we had one guy who... When it came time to make his name, came up with Max Frebles. That's kind of a metaphor for the entire style that this character was. At one point, we came to a brick wall. So what's the logical thing to do when you come to a brick wall? Punched it. He broke his hand. He took damage for it. And he's like, what? That's bullshit. Dude, you just punched the brick wall. What do you think was going to happen? So, I mean, they might fudge rolls for or against, behind their little stream thing. But for the most part, we all do things the same way. We're having fun, but if you do something stupid, you might die. And we have had total party kills.
And that's fine. But if you're in a situation where you can take some sort of bad thing and turn, because it's interesting, to make the story more interesting, there should be that option. Like if I'd have done, let's say Chris was shooting at me with a character who wasn't necessarily trying to kill me. Now because Ivy was in the group, if you didn't try to kill that character was going to kill you. But maybe I wanted to get shot and go down and get taken prisoner because that was an interesting way to go. But because of Ivy, you can't do that because he was only interested in the shoot, 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 kill, kill, kill.
Yeah. One of the campaigns we had here recently, and by recently I mean in the last couple of years, the group was we were surrounded. We were outnumbered. There was nothing we could do. And we were ordered to put down our weapons, at which point all of us do. We all say, I put mine down, I'm standing there with my head bowed. And we got the one character who says, no, I wouldn't do that. He says, bring it. And it's like, dude, not only are you now surrounded, but we're all disarmed. You know, and it's like, obviously, that was a total party kill. He managed to kill every one of us because he was too proud to apologize. That's what it came down to, was just, you know, the rest of us are like, putting down our weapons, we're sorry, we didn't realize, blah, blah, blah. No. I apologize to no one. I'm not going to apologize to any of you. And it's like, oh, we died.
Now, going back to my Assamite, there was a couple of times Chris tested me to see if I would slide back.
Going back to your Assamite.
Yeah. It's all about my Assamite. There was a couple of times Chris tested me because he was trying to see if I would slide back into a different character type. So basically, did I make a mistake giving you Assamite? One of the things he tested me with was he gave me Vicissitude, which is the Shimishe ability to alter your bone structure and stuff. So that's why they were always weird looking. That's how you pronounce that word, by the way, Shimishe. Or Zimisi for the rest of us.
Kind of a cool word. Not as cool as gazebo. It's a really cool word to say.
Or gazoo.
Gazebo.
Gazoo. Anyway, he gave me Vicissitude because in our original party, the Ventru, the Tremere, and the Gangrel, and the Malkavian, we were always actively trying to collect disciplines. And Vicissitude we all wanted because I was like, yeah! Well, he gave me Vicissitude. And I paused the speech because if you spoke in-game, you were speaking as your character rather than that. And I paused everything and I said, okay here, buddy, listen up. You have just given my character a disease. I am not going to develop this so you can keep poking at me, but I'm not going to use it. So I had 1 dot of Vicissitude the entire run of that character, and I never used it. And that impressed Chris, because... man, boy, did I want to, because, man, did I want to make myself look gnarly and awesome, just, like, poke my fingers through my head and have this big thing on my head. It was awesome. It would have been awesome, but I was like, nope.
I love that reference.
My character...
That's right there with the eyeballs on the fingers.
My character was not happy about that, and he did not want it. And I remember the last session we played with those characters, he wanted to turn everybody into an abomination, like a half werewolf, half vampire. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, man, this is against everything he is. So we actually had a little combat, and I made a new character after it. They killed my character because he would not have done it, and Chris was impressed with that. But we never played again after that because I think I got out shortly thereafter.
Yeah, and I haven't played since. I mean, here they made us go somewhere, deploying us. The United States military paid us to play games. That's why we were in Puerto Rico, was so we could play games together. And everybody else who's out there listening to this, they paid for it out of their tax money for us to play games. Isn't that great?
On a side note, remember what you made monthly. Okay, just keep that figure in your head. Right now, it is roughly double to 2.5 times what you were making at the same rank.
Wow.
Yes. Straight out of boot camp.
People to play these games.
Straight out of boot camp, I was making $770. a month. That's no.
I'm thinking that's about what I was making.
That's no. Well, I had a wife. I had dependents, so I had dependents, and I had some sort of other pay that I got too for something. So that's straight out of boot camp with no extra cash. When I got out, I want to say I was making about a little over like $1,100 a month with the dependent pay and all that, and that was great. Now I looked it up with everything I would have had at the same rank. I'd be making damn near, if not more than, $3,000 a month as an enlisted E3. You want to go back now, don't you?
What's that?
You want to go back now, don't you?
You know, I thought about it, but I couldn't. The CVs, and that's what we were in, for anybody who doesn't know us, construction battalion. They are one of the highest in divorce ratings because you're in home port for 7 months, and then you're gone for 7 months, and just when your family learns to live without you, there you are again saying, hey, I run this family. And from what I understand, the CVs and the SEALs were like the top of divorce rates. I couldn't go back now. First of all, I'm fat now.
I hear you there.
So,
what was your weight getting out of the Navy?
I'm thinking it's about 175.
That's what I was when I got out of boot camp, 175. So, I mean, that was the lightest I've ever been that I can remember being recorded. Now, what are you right now, and how long have you been out?
No, okay, I've been out since 99.
Okay.
And so in the last 13, 14 years or so, I'm currently weighing in at, I just weighed myself today, 257.
Oh, you're not fat. You're pleasantly plump. All right, I got out in 97, and in 97, I was 200 pounds exactly because I know that I had to be under that to get out.
Really?
Yes. What happened was something happened to my knee, and I ended up not being able to PT for a while. And then when I got back, and it was getting close for me to detach, I was doing running. It was running specifically, I think. And I couldn't make the run in the half hour because of the knee injury. And well, it had been months since I did any exercise. So Chief Shepherd made me run with him every day until I got down to 200 because that's what I needed to be to process out. I think I was up to 220 at one point in the Navy.
What happens if you can't, you just keep staying in until, like... I don't understand how that works. Now,
I don't remember the exact service, but... Right now, I weighed myself yesterday, 320 pounds.
Wow.
Now, I am down 9 pounds from about 3 weeks ago because I'm exercising again.
I just got my exercise stuff out of storage. I had to put it in storage because we had a graduation party last year. And she said, I want all this stuff out of this room. I said, all right. Now, here's my theory on exercise gear. You don't have to exercise. Just take it back and forth to storage a few times. And
wow.
That was a job. Let me tell you. I got a Kia Rio. That's my going back and forth to work vehicle. And then I have a big red shiny truck. The big red shiny truck has seen better days. The tailgate's broke. There's little cancer spots all over it. But I can't get rid of it because, we like to do the camping thing. We've got trailers and campers and stuff that we haul. And let me tell you, that was a job, getting that stuff into the truck and then unloading it here and moving it around. And,
I can imagine.
Yeah. Now, one person that I remember, you remember Bartimus?
No.
When we were in? He was a big guy when we were in. And he had to do the remedial. Remedial, for anybody who doesn't know, was every other day we had to do PT. I had to do our exercise. And remedial is anybody who failed it had to do it every other day. So those people are doing this PT every single day. Well, Bartimus was a big guy. Now, he can do more sit-ups than me.
The remedial is actually, I had failed the next PT test after my knee thing, and I actually got stuck on remedial. I'm like, this isn't fair. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, this guy, I mean, he was able to do the run faster than me. He could do more push-ups, more sit-ups than me. That's what was required for the test. But he was just a big guy, and he could not stay within the weight boundaries. So he failed one because of the weight boundaries. So he had to do remedial every single day, every day. The following year, same thing. So that's his 2 years now that he had to do this exercising every single day, which includes the mile and a half, 2 mile run every morning. Well, then it came up for the point where he can redo his enlistment. So he re-ups for 5 years. Then the last PRT test comes around. He failed it on purpose. Now, what happens when you fail 3 PRT tests? You're out of the military. So they said, you are out. And he said the one line, he goes, but I don't want out. So they bought back his 5-year contract.
Oh, wow.
He just free up 5 years to buy back his contract, base pay, and say, okay. And so he went home with 5 years of base pay in his bank account.
That would have been nice to do.
Yeah. And that's worth 2 years of having to run 1.5 miles, 2 miles every day. It'd kill you. But if it doesn't kill you, it makes you richer.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. But we are dangerously going into non-game talk here.
We are.
Yes.
I don't think we talked much about gaming for the past long time. I don't know what time we started.
We'll address all that on our other show. And as those of you can see, we're doing this in a different format here, where I'm in a tiny little box, and Bob is in a much bigger, tiny little box. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring you on, Bob, this time specifically to let everybody know who my new co-host was going to be until Sean has an opportunity to get someplace where he's he's back to being able to join me again, because he's in a place right now where his internet is not great. So joining me live every other Saturday is going to hurt. So we're also not going to be live because Bob's camera on his computer makes him really dark. And I don't mean like African American dark. I mean like he's sitting in a dark room in a closet with the door shut dark. That's the way it looks.
My house is naturally dark. I have wooden walls, so the lights that I have on barely. I mean, I might even look dark now, other than the fact that I'm sitting right in front of I literally have a window a foot away from me. That's why I am not dark.
You're good. You're good, Bob.
I'm evil.
Sure. So, every other week, Bob, we will get together on one of the days that I can grab you, and we will record a half hour to an hour's worth of White Wolf / World of Darkness / Onyx Path talk.
What was that last one?
Onyx Path. Onyx Path is a company formed by the people who basically created the World of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
They, for all intents and purposes, they separated from White Wolf to become their own company, and then bought the licenses to do the World of Darkness stuff.
Nice. Because
World of Darkness, the parent company of White Wolf is CCP, or CCCP. I'm not sure. Anyway, they're working on an MMO, and CCP, like the. Anyway, they're working on an MMO, so the focus was going away from pen and paper games, and the Onyx Path people wanted to do pen and paper still, so they basically formed their own company, which I think was a smart move.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
do you remember we were playing Werewolf, Vampire, and then there was another game that you came up with? Do you remember what that one was called?
Wraith the Oblivion. It's my favorite one.
No. There was one I didn't play Wraith, but there was one that you particularly came up with. Like, you came up with the whole system.
The one that I invented.
That you invented.
That was Strangeland.
Strangeland, yes, that's what it was.
I have since lost all of the material for Strangeland. I'm not sure exactly what happened to it. I know I packed it and I moved it up here. In a nutshell, Strangeland, I made an entirely fictional world, and I drug elements from all the stuff that I thought was cool into the game. So you could literally play damn near anything, and you would encounter damn near anything. And I was kind of fooling around with how you leveled up and stuff. So basically, if you had an experience point, you could just put that experience point into a stat, and you could bump up your stat. The way that I found that was not the smart way to do it was Monty had decided to put all of his experience points into his strength. So he was actually hitting for more than the rest of the party combined in one shot. And yeah, that's when I was like, okay, we're going to have to retire these characters and modify the rules slightly so that you're not...
Now, I mean, technically, now looking back at it, something that you could have done is just take away his ability to melee. You know, put him in more of the ranged type attacks where the guys way over there are trying to kill you. To where you can't just take something and hit them with it. You know.
Well, I had modified. I was creating the version 1.1 or 1.2 or whatever. You know, doing the next iteration of it, and that's when we got back to. No, we were in Homeport. We went over to Okinawa again, and it was in Okinawa that everybody got assigned to detachments and all kinds of weird places, and none of us were together anymore. It just happened all of a sudden, too. Unless you were assigned... Well, because I know Ivy was initially with us, and Ivy got pulled to go to some weird detachment, and he didn't understand why he was chosen, but he was... gone. Chris volunteered for some work that was way off the base we were staying on. So he would literally leave before sunup and come back long after sundown. That was this detachment's job.
I was in Okinawa for the first 2 weeks and like the last 2 weeks. Other than that, I was in Yokosuka.
So
nobody played games at all.
So you came over, and that must have been when you disappeared. Was when you got? I think it was Yokosuka was the way you pronounce it. But I think you got pulled to detachment. April got pulled.
She's in the States, wasn't it?
So what?
Wasn't she like in the States or something, like Virginia or something at that time?
No, she was still with us. I think that she just went straight to like one of the other detachments without coming over to Okinawa. And I know Deidre got out around the same time I did, so she was gone before we hit Okinawa. I got out in Okinawa 2 months after we got there, wasting taxpayer money to send me someplace I asked not to go. So my last night in Okinawa, and I thought we'll close after this. My last night in Okinawa, I wanted to get together with all of my friends to go out and drink ourselves into a stupor and then get onto the plane hungover the next day. I want you to ask me how many people I knew that I was drinking with that night.
Hey, how many people did you know that you were drinking with that night?
Absolutely none. I was literally drinking with everyone who had just signed into the battalion. So I had 16 to 25 people who had basically just gotten into the Navy hanging out with me. Now, I'm 99% sure they were hanging out with me because I was paying for most of the drinks.
Wow.
We can tell more Navy stories on our other show, Bob.
Okay, that's cool.
Because
I noticed that we were drifting again, but I didn't want to say anything because, you know, it's your show.
Yeah. So, well, you went into Strangeland, and then I was trying to figure out why we stopped playing, and then I think we drifted that there. So, yeah, we're a little bit tangential here.
Do you know what I had in Strangeland? I had the Wolverine Lake Claws.
Yes.
And a sword. So I was able to, like, go running through a crowd of people with a sword and, like, Not only did I have this blade here, but I also had the blades here, and that's about the only thing I remember about that game.
Well, Chris and Ivy were arguing with me about the toughest metal possible. There was some debate about I had certain metals listed as strengths. So the top one, whatever it was listed as, they were arguing that that was not the toughest metal. So I said, for all intents and purposes, you know what? Fuck you both. The toughest metal in this world is star metal. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, define that, motherfuckers. It comes in 3 goddamn colors, red, green, and blue. They argued.
Nice.
Monty had a sword made out of the blue star metal. It became a legendary weapon.
Wow.
Yeah. It was expensive as hell, and he's like, I'm not spending anything until I can buy that.
That's cool. See,
And
that's the stuff right there. That, oh, yeah. That's the, not just legendary in the game, but that's legendary out of game type of stuff. That's the whole telling stories about 20 years later. Brilliant.
I thought so. So, we've been... I can't wait. Oh, that's awesome. So, we've been running for probably 40 or so minutes here, and we'll get together in 2 weeks to talk about more, and we'll assign you some homework and get you access to the same game books that I have access to, so that you can also understand what I'm playing, and maybe run a game.
Yeah. If I have the books, I may actually do that. I have some of the older books. I think I might have bought 2 of the books for the Vampire. So I might have 2 of the Vampire ones.
Okay.
Like the main player guide, player's handbooky things.
So like the blue World of Darkness book and the red Vampire the Requiem book?
Yeah.
I think they were selling an initial bundle of those 2 bundled, and I also bought them, but I like the digital copies better, so I think I'm going to give away my copies on this show.
Nice.
I thought so. So, Bob, I will see you on this show in 2 weeks. Are you good for that?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
I currently am unemployed. So, when I do get a job, I will let you know when my hours are and when we can actually record.
And we'll figure that out as we go.
We will figure that out.
If I have to skull fuck some other show, I will.
Which would make for a good show, right there.
Skull fucking. The skull fucker. Yes. Okay, so until next time, this is DJ echoing out.
And Bob, also echoing out.